Hi there, Pride Plant Girl here. Today my plan is to just kind of go around and look at some of my flower pots and assess what's working and what isn't and try and jazz them up a little bit. I have a few that just aren't quite what I want. A few that I had planned to add more plants later and never quite had found what I wanted, and so now I'm just trying to figure out what to do with them. And I don't know, I just need to go through some of them. So I went to 4 different garden center type places today, and I was at the actual one of the permanent biggest garden centers in town here 2 weeks ago, I think, and they were almost completely empty as far as like annuals goes. And when I went today to the 4 different 3 are like pop-ups on the side of big box stores, and one is a pop-up that comes from a large greenhouse several hours north of me here. They're emptying out, and that's normal here. I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but by the beginning to middle of June, it seems like garden centers stop replenishing their stock, and by this time of year they're just empty, and I really should have got on this sooner, but I didn't. So I'm just gonna take what I have and the little bits that I could find. I actually only found annuals at one of the places I went to out of 4 today. And of course I picked up a few perennials, but I'll deal with those another day. I have a few little things that I think have rooted in from cuttings that I took that were in my greenhouse. So I'm just going to try and play with things a little bit and see what I can do, because it's still early in the summer here, and these plants are already, some of these pots are already not looking great. So I just want to see what I can do to perk them up a little bit. So I'll be moving some things around. Anyways, that's enough rambling on. I thought I'd just bring you along, and hopefully this doesn't get too long. And I'll just show you with each space what I'm doing, and hopefully go through it real quick. So let's get started. So our first stop on this little ride today is going to be these pots that were right behind me in this planter I made last year. And right from the beginning I wasn't super pleased with these. I was really hoping to find some Brewalia or some Torrenia to put in the back of these, and I just couldn't. They're both plants that I find can be more difficult to find here for whatever reason. I don't know if people just don't know about them or what. They're great shade plants, wonderful plants. But today I found 3 Torrenia plants, but they're not in shades that I want right here. They're actually 2 of one color and 1 of another, so I'll figure something else out to do with them. But I actually popped in here the other day. I just popped the tops off some coleus and just peeled the leaves back and stuck them in here, and I'm hoping they'll take root a little bit. And I have here, if you can see this, I have a pot here where I've been trying to do some rooting of a begonia that I have. It's the apple blossom begonia, which is the same as this one here. It's just one that I've had for a few years, and sprouted again this year. This one is one I'd actually purchased. But all I did here is I took the cuttings of the leaves, and I have a plastic pot, and then I have a clay pot here that was plugged on the bottom and just filled with water. And then I just had a sand and vermiculite, I believe it is, mix here in this plastic pot. So the water wicked out of the clay pot into the sand just to keep it moist, and I had a plastic bag sealed up over top of it, and it's just been sitting for at least a month now in my greenhouse. So I believe I have a few roots on 2 of these. I started, I think, with 5. A couple of them rotted right away. I think the plastic bag just wasn't big enough and it was touching the sides, and I wound up opening it up, and some of them were rotten already. 2 of these I believe are rooted, and 1 I'm not sure about, but I thought at least it's not going to add a lot to these pots, but more than anything it's just going to get these moved out. So yeah, this one has just tiny little roots on it. These pots are on drip and they stay pretty moist, so I'm just going to put this in here. I've never started begonia from cuttings before, so Certainly, I don't really know what I'm doing. This is just what I found online, and I'm really, more than anything, counting on these coleus doing their thing here and bulking out these pots for me the rest of the way. Yeah, this one has a few little roots on it. I don't know how well you can see that. Just see the tiny little bits of roots on them there. So I'm gonna pop this one down in the other pot the other way there real quick, and then we'll look at the other one. Yeah, and this one, I don't think it's gonna do anything. It's kind of, I don't know, it's calloused off. I might just put it back in the greenhouse like this for now and see. It's calloused off and it's not rotting, but it just doesn't seem to be putting roots down. So, oh, I just splashed myself with water. So that one will just go back in the greenhouse. So that was really less about bulking up these pots and making them look better than just getting those begonias moved on into a more permanent location for now. Like I said, my big desire is that these coleus cuttings take here. It's not really the best way to do a cutting, but these get shade almost the entire day. They just get a little bit of sun early morning, and they're on drip, so they stay nice and moist. And I think that if they have a chance of rooting out in a pot like this, that's where they're gonna have it. So these pots are just the Elfin series of Impatiens here. See if I can find a tag. I grew these. Yeah, so these were supposed to be super elfin clear, which I had understood to be white Impatiens, but I think maybe I misunderstood and it just meant like they didn't have any streaking or less streaking than a lot of Impatiens have. I don't know, or else I just didn't get good seed. But I grew those from seed. And then, like I said, this is the apple blossom begonia. It's a beautiful begonia. And since these get so much shade, these are just perfect plants for in here. The Impatiens are filling out a little bit. You can see where a bit more sun hits them on this end than that end, so they're not getting as much growth, and it's just pretty much a duplicate of the same thing down there. So that's what I have there. I had really hoped for some Berwalia to just fill out and get large in the back, but I often can only find that in one garden center, and it's actually in a different city than I live, and I just did not get there this year. So they're nice enough. They're just not what I had envisioned in my mind. So the next ones I have here are just pots down the steps of my house on my back deck here. So the lighting's really bad. I'm gonna try and move them over so it's less kind of shade and bright sun, and we'll just have a look. They're just I had just popped some cornflower in there just to see, but it's just too floppy. They're in bright sun right now, but they get shade pretty much all afternoon, and so those floppy cornflower just don't work there, or bachelor's button. So I had considered just cutting back the bachelor's button just to see if it would throw up more shoots and be a lower growing plant here, but I've decided the Impatiens in these pots are really full enough on their own, and I can pop these out and put them somewhere else. So that's what I'm going to do with those. I'm just going to try and delicately just reach in there, and hopefully I can get them out without disturbing too many roots. And we'll see. If I can't get them out doing that, then I will wind up just snipping them down and seeing if they come back with more branching and a little less height, because they're just too floppy. And I think part of the reason they're floppy is just because of the shade they're getting in the afternoon is making them a little extra flop. So let's see if I can get in here without disturbing too much. Yeah, that's what I figured. So yeah, they just came out in a nice clump like that. So I'll need to get a little bit of soil and put in there. Just to fill that gap. And I think the Impatiens now will just grow in and fill in around there. So hopefully the rest are that easy. I'm just loosening the soil around the root ball with my fingers, so I'm disturbing as little as possible. I should just stick my fingers underneath and lift from the bottom as I pulled up from the top. And I'm getting a good root ball, so I think that'll be just fine doing that. Okay, so I'll put those back and we'll move on to the next victims. So there, I think that works better, for space on the side of the stairs. You don't need plants whapping into you as you're walking along there. Those pots are all on drip, and I think they'll be better off. I like them already. That looks better. Let's look at my saddest baskets here. I have baskets under my big ash trees, and they're just on stands. And there's one in the shadows here, and I'll show you the other one. Here's the other one. So yeah, these baskets, or pots I guess, are just not doing it for me. So I'll pull these out. I think I'll put them back on that bench where I just did the last ones, and then we'll be able to see them better, and I'll talk to you about them a little bit. So these pots, as you saw, one was in complete shade and one was in complete sun. But that switches as the day goes on. So one's on the east side of my yard, one's on the west side of my yard. And so we have complete sun in the morning on one and then complete sun in the afternoon on the other. And the shade changes. So these pots, I've always had trouble with in this space, keeping them watered. And I thought that having them with Calibrachoa, which is all they had in them originally, was this pot here is actually doing better. It gets the afternoon sun, so it's getting a little bit more dried out. It's this beautiful Calibrachoa. Let's see if this just gives a mixed pack, so I don't know what variety it is. And there was the kind of pinky purple and this yellow. I had 2 of each in there, and then a Nicotiana, which just has done nothing in both of these pots. Yeah, this one's even dying off. So I changed the pots I usually put there to these ones this year, thinking they won't drain as quickly, forgetting that they have a reservoir on the bottom that doesn't drain well at all. It just kind of sprinkles at the bottom here a little bit. It holds a lot of moisture. And these ash trees have grown, and I think they're getting even more shade than they used to. I tried limbing them up a bit, but it's just not doing it. So I think I looked around. I don't have any different pots that will work in those stands. I used the ones I usually use for something else. So what I think I'm going to do, I popped an Impomia in here a few weeks ago, and it's doing all right in this pot here, but I think these are going to just pop a lot of this stuff out. And then I got these Terenia. They're very small. I don't know. It's later in the season. Hopefully they fill out. I find they can handle some moisture and they can take a bit of sun, but they like shade, so Hopefully that works. I could only find these two that appear to both be the purple tinged flower, because you could just see the purple coming out of this one here. So, and I'll pull out these. This Nicotiana is doing all right. Calibrachoa, the yellow Calibrachoa are done. These Calibrachoa don't look good. And then I grabbed these Begonia. These are called Nightlife Red. These are, I believe, fibrous Begonia, and they have kind of a pinky red leaf on them. And begonias usually can handle some moisture as well. These ones are completely dried out, garden center sale. And I think I'll put some Ipomia in there. And I think everything else is just going to come out, and I'll just deal with it elsewhere. Soil up. I don't think there's anything wrong with the soil, and it had a slow release fertilizer in it. So these get, I think it's 8 by 8. Yeah, 8 inches by 8 inches. Should fill in a nice space here. So we put one like over here. So that's all I have. And then these, they say to put them about 12 inches apart, and they get about 6 to 8 inches tall. So I think if I put one over here, I might put 2 inches. I have a pack of 4 here. And then hopefully those do better here. It's kind of a different color combination, but I thought it might be kind of pretty. Let's get this bigger one in first. Sometimes if things are too waterlogged, it'll smell really swampy and nasty, and then you really have to deal with the drainage. But I think it's just Calibrachoa like to be drier, and these pots certainly weren't staying dry. So I think these plants that I'm putting in now will do better with a little bit more moisture. So it's a little bit late in our growing season here, but we're just getting into the heat. Hopefully these plants take off and get a bit of a show out of them. So that's one. Okay, so you may have noticed I don't have an Ipomia sitting here. What I do have is a pot horribly in the shadows. There, instant Ipomia. I find sweet potato vine roots very easily. Take this. It's really grown around itself. And cut down. So I've cut down quite a bit on the stem here. Those will be growing points, and it'll root when I stick it in the soil. I'll just keep it well watered, which with this container shouldn't be an issue. It'll look kind of sad for probably a week, and then it'll perk up. All right, this little Terenia. You can see why these ones were left to the garden center. They look pathetic, but hopefully it just needs a good home. Okay, so even being like small and not very filled out, I still think those planters looked better than they did earlier. So I think they'll be fine. These plants are all good to go with a little bit of part sun, part shade, and they'll all tolerate a little damper conditions better. So I'm going to pop them back in their holders, and we'll see what we're going to do next here. Okay, so if you have seen some of my other videos, you may have seen me put together some hanging baskets, And if you look carefully at this one, you'll see that there's a big gaping hole in the side of it. So after I made these, we had days and days of, I think it was around 70 to 90 kilometer winds, if I recall. And I didn't put these away soon enough. So they got really beat on, and some of the lobelia popped out. So I'm hoping to just come in here and fill these holes a little. So I just picked up a little pack. I don't think it's the same type of lobelia, but these are lobelia sky blue. So the downfall of these pots is you can't easily pull these things out and redo them, but I have found that if you're not afraid to be a little rough, I just poked a hole with my thumb and smashed that guy in there. There's another one right here missing. There's actually one down here. I'm not going to worry about that because the other plants should fill in and it won't be a big issue. Looks like that's all for that. These are on drip as well, so they should be getting watered soon, and that should bounce those back. I thought there was more than that in these baskets that needed replacing, but that was it. So maybe I'll stick these couple extra lobelia I have in those pots, those other pots I just did. This is the side the sun shines on more, so. I believe that's kind of a bluey color, so it should play off the purpley blue of the Terrania. So I'll stick one on the other one. Yeah, these poor pots get one extreme to the next, that's for sure. So let's make this going over just a bit. So this yellow dahlia is one of my dahlias that I overwinter, and it has large, I think you would call this like a cactus style flower. I'll see if I have photos of it somewhere. And it's just in a grower pot, just set in that decorative bag. And it gets mostly sun all day. But I think what I'm going to do with it, this may or may not be good. I'm going to take these sad little calibrachoa and just tuck them in the edges. See the bunny running through? This little bunny just hangs out in my yard and eats all my hard work. But he's cute, so I let him. So these two calibrachoa, this dahlia takes up a lot of the moisture in the pot. Dahlias like a lot of moisture, but it'll drink a lot, so I think it might help so that these aren't so waterlogged. Dahlias are one of those plants you can pile soil up around a little bit, so I'm just adding a little bit more. It's easier than digging down around the dahlia. That gives them a chance anyways, and they weren't looking the best anyways. This gives them a little bit of a chance to do something there, but If they don't, then I still have the dahlia and it'll look beautiful regardless. The rest of the plants, a lot of them will just go in the landscape, or I'll find somewhere to pop them. That little yellow Torrenia, I think I'm just going to get a pretty little pot and put it on the table in my patio here. I have this little fabric grow bag with some cabbage. Is it all cabbage? Yeah, cabbage in it. And I think I'm going to stick these sad little calibrachoa in here and just see what they do with that, because it drains fairly freely, so they'll get moisture when they're watered, but then it'll drain out. And it's nice full sun here. There, so hopefully those perk up there and are happier there than they were in the other pots. So it was a little bit different video. Hopefully the lighting shows up better on the screen than it does sometimes when I'm looking at, I just use my phone for my camera, so sometimes it doesn't always look as bad once I get editing it as it does when I'm trying to figure it out here. So hopefully that's the case this time. If not, thanks for sticking with me through that. But I thought it's good to just see that, you know, you don't have to be committed to things. If it doesn't work out for one reason or another, it's okay to change things. And sometimes you don't have the ideal plants, and not everybody has a big stocked greenhouse or whatever to just go and swap a bunch of plants out. So you just have to kind of make do with what you have, and maybe a few bits and bobs that you can find. So that was kind of the point of this, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know, hit that thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what you do. Do you just, you know, trash the, oh sorry, there's the most beautiful dragonfly just went by. Do you just trash the pot and just don't worry about it for that year, or do you try and find plants and fix it up, or what do you do? So I'd love to know in the comments down below. So let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.